Hi guys, so this video is called Quadratic Problem Solving. So this is where we use some of the things that you should have learned when solving quadratic equations to work out some kind of almost real life problems. A lot of problems with area come up and it can be used for here, so you'll see that in the second example here. But the first example anyway, the sum of a number and its square is 30. Find two numbers which satisfy this condition. So a number anyway, so you should know whenever you see a number in problems like this, you put in x for that. So x is a number, and then its square. So if x is the number, then its square has to be the square of x basically, so x squared. So, and then at the start again it says the sum. So we've got x plus x squared, but I'm just going to write x squared plus x because usually we put the higher powered one at the start of the equation. So and its square is 30, so when we add them together it is 30, so therefore equals 30. So that's my equation there really. Now it almost looks like a quadratic equation, but in order to solve a quadratic we need to have equals 0, so we need to move everything over to one side. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to subtract 30, and by subtracting 30 on the right hand side then it just removes it. So, and then on the left hand side you've got x squared plus x minus 30 equals 0. And again, because you've got a plus x there in the middle, you could put a little 1 in front of it just to, so we've got a number to help us factorize. So because x and 1x are the same thing, so if we try and just factorize this, then now you've got a quadratic. So the rest of this is stuff that you should have seen before and practiced before. So if you're not familiar with how to factorize quadratic equations, then have a look back at that because you need to practice it. So I really am looking for two numbers that would multiply to give me minus 30, but would also sum or add together to give me positive 1. So because they must multiply to give me a negative number, I know that one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative, and the only factors of 30 that would multiply together would be 5 and 6, which would get me to 1 or positive 1. So it's going to be plus 6 and minus 5. Then because one of these brackets has to be 0, either x plus 6 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. So if x plus 6 equals 0, we subtract 6 from both sides, so x equals minus 6. And if x minus 5 equals 0, we just add 5 to both sides, so x equals positive 5. So minus 6 and 5 are the two numbers which satisfy the condition, so that's the answer to that one. Let's look at the second example here. So this is a bit more kind of real life. So this is an area problem. So the length of a rectangle exceeds its breadth, or breadth is kind of the same thing as width, by 6 centimeters. If the area of the rectangle is 160 centimeters squared, find its length and breadth. So let's just draw a rectangle here, and then we can kind of figure out from that what's going on. So so the length of the rectangle exceeds its breadth by 6. So whatever the length is, whatever the length there is, must be 6 more than whatever the breadth. So I'm going to let the breadth be x, and then if the breadth is x, well, the length has to be 6 more than that. So it has to be x plus 6 centimeters, so x plus 6. So I can see there that length is x plus 6, breadth is x, and we know that to find area of a rectangle you have to do the length multiplied by the breadth, or length multiplied by the width. So all I have to do is I have to do x multiplied by x plus 6, and I know that the answer to that then has to be 160. So I need to, it doesn't look like a quadratic at all yet, so but what I can do anyway is I can multiply the x by the x plus 6. So x multiplied by x is x squared, x multiplied by 6 is 6x. That equals 160, so it's looking a little bit more like a quadratic equation now. Then I need everything equal to 0, so I need to move everything over to the left hand side so I can subtract 160. So I get x squared plus 6x minus 160 equals 0. So I'm looking for two numbers now that would multiply to give me minus 160, but would sum to give me plus 6 or positive 6. So the thing that looks difficult here, obviously, is the minus 160. So it'd be very hard to list out all the factors of 160. The obvious factor or set of factors of 160, when you see a 0 at the end of it, is 10 and whatever the first digits are. So 10 and 16 would be factors. So 10 times 16 are obvious kind of factors there. So, and they're actually the ones that are going to work. So double set of brackets x and x. So it's going to be minus 10 and plus 16. So minus 10 multiplied by plus 16 would give me minus 160. Minus 10 plus 16 would give me positive 6. So then either x minus 10 equals 0 or x plus 16 equals 0. So if x minus 10 equals 0, then x equals 10. If x plus 16 equals 0, then x equals minus 16. Now, if you consider these two options at the end, we can actually pick one here. We can actually pick which one is the right one between 10 and minus 16. If you think about it, if I had minus 16 there instead of x, so if x was minus 16, that would mean that the length from there to there is minus 16. So what I'm trying to say is you can't actually have a minus length. So you can't say something is minus 16 centimeters long. It doesn't make any sense. So you need to cross out that option there. So the x must actually be 10. So if x is 10, then we can go back, and so x equals 10. Therefore the length of it must be 10 plus 6, which is 16. So length equals 16, and breadth, as they call it here, equals 10. And they're both centimeters. Here's another question. If you want to pause the video and just attempt this one, it's similar enough to the last example. So if you just want to pause the video and then try it and then play it on, and I'll go through the answer. Right, so this one, they've actually drawn the diagram already for you in this one, which helps. So you know that if the length is x plus 4 and the width or the breadth is x, then x multiplied by x plus 4, that would have to be the area. And they tell us in the question as well that the area is 77. So x multiplied by x plus 4 has to equal 77. Then we're going to multiply x in. So x multiplied by x is x squared. X multiplied by 4 is 4x. And that equals 77. Then I'm going to move this 77 over to the other side. So x squared plus 4x minus 77 equals 0. So if I factorize that, then so it's going to be two numbers that multiply to give me minus 77 and add to give me 4. It's going to be plus 11 and sorry, it's 10 and minus 7. So plus 11 and minus 7. So 11 multiplied by minus 7 gives me minus 77. 11 take away 7 is positive 4. So that equals 0. So one of the brackets again has to equal 0. So x plus 11 equals 0, or x minus 7 equals 0. So either x equals minus 11 or x equals 7. And again, because we get one of them as negative, we can cross that one off because we can't have a negative length. So x has to equal 7. Therefore, the breadth of it or width of it is 7, and the length of it is 7 plus 4. So length equals 7, and the width equals length is 7 plus 4, so 7 plus 4 is 11. So length is 11 centimeters and width is 7 centimeters.